Hi, listeners, and welcome back to The Good Pod. Today, I'm joined by a man who knows every square inch of the 35 acres we call home, Milder, the facilities manager for CrossWinds Church. He is also a vital partner to Goodness Village. Milder doesn't just keep the grounds beautiful, he plays a huge role in our vocational program. He works side by side with our Tier 2 neighbors, people who are ready to expand their skills beyond the village. Whether it's through stipend work or bringing our neighbors onto the official payroll, Milder is helping build careers and confidence. Milder, thank you for all the heavy lifting that you do, and welcome to the Good Pod.
Why, thank you, and good morning, Jackie. It's certainly an honor to be on your podcast. I believe that was the first time I'd heard of it, so I'm so very glad that you invited me.
Of course, we're happy to have you. So before we get into our official questions, I first want to ask how you came across CrossWinds Church, how you got involved, and give us your origin story.
Yes, absolutely. So it's actually a very interesting story. So at the end of 2023, I was probably in my 16th year, maybe even longer, working in the tech world. And at that time, I was working for a fairly wonderful company, but they went through some changes, and I was part of a layoff, unfortunately. So I decided that I needed to do something to help provide for my family. And at that time, things were slim pickings. So I actually ended up working at Costco, just up the freeway. And honestly, I thought that was going to be just a couple of months at best until the new year came. A new year came, but it was the same old thing. I was still working at Costco, and that was actually a fairly tough time in my life. In looking back, I knew that God had a purpose for me being there. And so I decided to just do my very best there. And then by the time the holidays came around for 24, I was still there. And to kind of lift myself up, so to speak, from just kind of this darkness that I was feeling while I was working there, I decided to contact CrossWinds Church and say if they had any options for volunteering. Now, a bit of backstory: me and my wife and my three kids have been attending CrossWinds about around the same time when they arrived to this new campus from their Dublin campus. So we're quite familiar with the church. I contacted the church, got in contact with RJ, and said they had a lot of volunteer options, which was wonderful. And then I got connected with Matt Benjent, executive pastor at CrossWinds Church, and we met up at the now defunct Starbucks by the outlets, and we just started talking. And as we started talking some more, I was wondering why the list was so long for all the tasks that they needed for this volunteer position. And midway through our conversation, Matt corrected me and said, "Oh no, this is actually a staff position." So that was definitely a blessing from God, because I was, to be quite honest, nearing my end of the rope per se, working in retail. And about early February of 2025, I came on board as the facilities manager here at CrossWinds Church.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
It's really nice to be able to hear a little bit more about your background. So you oversee the maintenance for this massive 35-acre property, and alongside Goodness Village, there are two other nonprofits here. So can you explain to our listeners what a typical day in the life looks like when you're managing so many different parts?
Yes. So one of the first things I take a look at, not only on a day to day, but maybe on a weekly basis, maybe even a monthly, is to kind of see what's forecasted in terms of events. Because the way I see my role here at CrossWinds Church is much like a conductor for an orchestra. And with the four groups: CrossWinds Church, the Village, Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and Eden Garden, everybody has some fairly unique needs, but there are some commonality between the four groups. So I always make an effort to speak to those that are the directors in those four groups and see what they need, and see where I can best conduct um, upcoming events.
That was a nice analogy. It makes it sound like a beautiful symphony.
It's very beautiful out here.
And so you work closely with our neighbors in the tier 2 of our vocational program. And for those of you that don't know, tier 2 of our vocational program involves neighbors who are graduated from working just inside the village to working just outside the village. And usually that work consists of working under Milder at CrossWinds Church. So, Milder, what have you noticed about the transformation that happens when a neighbor moves from working inside the village to outside the village?
That's a wonderful question. And from me personally, what I notice is that they have a renewed sense of purpose. And I understand that many of the residents here have had some unique history in how they came to the village, and I certainly keep a sensitive eye on that. And one of the things, like I said, is they start working with us on the campus, and they realize that they have some very unique abilities and capabilities that maybe their recent history was overshadowed, and I find it a beautiful thing wherein we can allow them to share those abilities, not only within the village and of course on the campus, because it completely translates into how CrossWinds serves the folks that attend the church.
So you're kind of watching them live tap into these talents that they may have not been able to tap into for a while because of their circumstances.
Absolutely. And the thing is that, even my official title is Director of Operations, it is actually more of walking alongside, especially those in the tier 2. I certainly have a bit of, compassion in the road that they may have traveled. And one of the things I have found out is that sometimes they feel like they were overlooked at some point in their life. And if I can, within my own small world, have the ability to help them come out of that and sort of integrate back into society through the work we do here, the work we do through the campus, and even just the fellowship that I can extend to the residents, I'm all for it.
Nice, amazing. So you also work very closely with our vocational manager, Terry. How do you two check in on the neighbors' progress to make sure they're feeling supported because they're handling much bigger responsibilities now?
Terry has been a wonderful liaison between myself and the village, specifically in regards to those in the Tier 2 program. And a lot of what she brings is quite helpful to how I can interact with those that are starting to work with us on campus. And because she has intimate knowledge of the residents here, it's very helpful in how I can interact with them. Like I said earlier, one of the things I certainly attempt to do is walk alongside these residents that are coming onto the campus, performing different tasks and duties with us. So on any given day, I can check in with Terry and let her know how a particular resident that is working with us or starting to work with us, and let her know how they're doing. Because I want to make sure that although the work is important, what's more important to me is that the residents that come over have the ability to express themselves, good or bad, about the work or even the interactions they may have throughout the campus. And vice versa, Terry will give me some information or an update on a resident that may be experiencing a slight setback for whatever reason. And I am sensitive to ensure that I have that in mind when they step back on the campus.
And a beautiful part about our vocational program is that it not only gives the neighbors a renewed sense of purpose, like you said, but also kind of helps them how to call in sick when you're not feeling well, how to have a difficult conversation with your superior and things of that nature. So it's really helpful to have you have that extra empathy rather than kind of throwing them back into the world with people who may not understand their circumstances.
Most certainly. I bring a whole lot of experience from previous roles, previous jobs, many of them in the corporate world, where everything is kind of clinical and sanitary. And that's one thing I've been very happy to learn in working with the residents at the village is that as opposed to taking the approach of a checklist on what we're doing on the campus, it's more about involving empathy as people kind of make their way back into society.
And so, as you mentioned, there are other nonprofits sharing the space. Eden Garden, shout out to Barbara, who has her own podcast episode.
I want to be a guest.
Sleep in Heavenly Peace, CrossWinds, and ourselves. So, how would you say that you see that neighborly spirit play out between the different organizations when it comes to taking care of the land?
One of the things I certainly see, just to mention Eden Garden, is the abundance in terms of what they're willing to do at the garden and share with the village. Now, I know periodically they'll just have an abundance of fruits and vegetables, and it really creates a community on campus because I'll see that Barbara and her folks will come down. They'll bring all these just freshly picked fruits and vegetables, and the residents come out, and it's a beautiful thing. And I myself have taken advantage of that, and just come along, and maybe there's some fresh fruit that'll be a good snack for the day. And I see that residents, village administrators, staff, and sometimes CrossWinds staff will come out here, and that's a big part of it. Another thing I see now going to Sleep in Heavenly Peace is the amount of community outreach that these groups out here do. And I see that it's quite literally the hands and feet of the Lord because we're all on this campus. And what I really believe is that there's an outreach happening at any given time during the day when they have bed builds, when they ask for volunteers for Eden Garden, or even when the village asks for volunteers. Many times I've seen large groups of volunteers just doing a variety of tasks or projects around the village. And that is certainly the acts of service that I feel runs through in a neighborly way through all these groups.
And what would you say is one moment or interaction that's really stuck with you so far since you've been working for CrossWinds?
That's a wonderful question, Jackie. I've had many great moments, to be quite honest, in the just under a year that I've been here. However, one day during the spring, we were in a very hurried state to get ready for Easter services. And I was going about some tasks, and I was walking along that road between the yellow house and the church, and there was someone walking along there, and I recognized them. I just kind of had to take a second look because I was quite certain I recognized this person, and then we just exchanged pleasantries, and I asked them, "Hey, did you used to work out at this 24-hour gym over here in Livermore?" And he said, "Yeah, that was quite a long time ago." And I thought to myself, "Wow, so that's him." I was right. And so we started talking, and he so graciously shared his backstory. He had been able to reach kind of a pinnacle in his career, my understanding within the fitness industry, locally and even on a broader scale. And he shared his story about some tough times that he went through. And it really made me think that any one of us, for whatever reason, whatever circumstance befalls us, there's always that ability wherein we can, find ourselves coming out of it.
Mm.
And it was a wonderful discussion with him. And I still see him around campus, and he has such a great personality, has a wonderful light about him, and I'm so forever thankful to him
Mm-hmm.
for sharing his story with me.
Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that you brought your backstory up in the beginning because it's like some parallels. So I'm sure it made you feel even more connected in that moment when you were able to hear his story.
Yes, and that really quite true. I can have that sense of fellowship
Mm-hmm.
with him now because I have shared my backstory with him, and there's that kind of a common thread
Mm-hmm.
there, that we know each one of us has gone through some difficult times in life, and yet we can treasure every day because we have come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know through God's grace, whatever storms come in my life, he'll be able to pull me right through it.
Mm-hmm. And so, for our listeners who may not be familiar with these 35 acres, is there a specific spot or time of day that you find most peaceful or most special to you?
Certainly in the very early morning,
Mm-hmm.
when the hurried state of the day has not yet started, I actually, in fact, drive through the prayer path every
Nice.
morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just take a slow drive there, and it's a beautiful area that I think many people that attend Crosswinds don't even realize is there.
Mm-hmm.
So a bit of backstory on that is when we first started coming here, my wife and my three kids would go through that prayer path and just walk there after service. Small kids have a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
In an open space like that is a wonderful place for them to burn all that energy. And since I started working here, every morning I'll just take a drive out there and just really take a moment to reflect how God has delivered me, going back to where I was to where I've landed now, and just the ability to take a look, take a breath, even meditate on God's blessings
Mm-hmm.
and all the different people that have walked alongside me since I've been here. And it's something of my morning ritual, if you will, right along with my hot coffee.
Exactly. I completely understand. When I started at Goodness Village, I used to walk the prayer path during my 6 a.m. shifts with a hot cup of tea just to get myself centered and grounded before the day, whatever that looked like, came.
Sure,
So it
that's
is a very
wonderful.
beautiful space.
I encourage everyone that's on campus to take a moment to walk over there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to walk the whole thing. It's actually, if you take one loop, it's probably could be 20 minutes, could be 35 minutes, wherever your feet leads you that day.
Mm-hmm.
And for those listening in the village, and hopefully those attendees of Crosswinds Church that will find out this podcast very soon, I personally invite you to come out to the prayer path. It's just over the bridge and just past the large barns there. And just take a moment to walk around and bask in God's glory.
Mm-hmm. And you might even see some deer or turkey along the way.
You will definitely see those right now in the winter months.
So, Milder, before we get to our final question, I have a very quick segment that I created just for you called the Tool Shed. So,
Outstanding.
it's just a few quick questions about your life on the grounds. So, cue the game show music. If you could have only one tool for the rest of your career, what would it be?
Wow. That is an amazingly well thought out and almost sneaky question. One tool that I could have, I would have to say that a drill is probably one of the most important tools in
Mm-hmm.
a toolbox. And with all the accessories, of course. So it's kind of not a fair question, but that's my answer.
Okay, we'll take it. So I often see you out on the tractor. Do you prefer to work in silence or are you listening to music?
For safety reasons, I am never listening to music when I'm working, especially when I'm on the tractor. Particularly because there's people walking around all the time, and that's sort of a CrossWinds policy.
Okay. If OSHA is listening, we did the right thing. And what would you say is the hardest season to manage 35 acres? California heat or the winter rains?
It would definitely be the winter rains because I'm not a big fan of rain. I don't mind the heat. You can run into the shade if need be while you're working. But when it's raining during the winter, it poses a different kind of safety issue for us because, for example, like you said, we'll be on the tractor and the ground can be slippery, even just walking around. And it's not fun if you have to climb a ladder
I can imagine.
outdoors. So it definitely, I'll take the heat over the rain or cold season anytime, and
Especially
twice
the
on
rains we
Sunday.
get here. Would you say that you're the first person on the property in the morning or the last one to leave at night?
I'm most definitely the first one. No, I take that back.
Oh,
I'm the second person on the property in the morning because Mr. Dan over at CrossWinds
yep.
gets here at the appointed time of when the sun is rising. But I have had my moments where I'm the last person to leave, and that often happens during the summer months because we have longer days and we try to take advantage of getting as much done.
Right. Makes sense. Last question for you. What is the most satisfying thing to fix or clean on the whole campus?
The most satisfying thing to clean are the wood barns at the very back of this property, which has had quite a bit of stuff put in there over the last 10 plus years. Some of it came from the other campus. And just to have seen it get all put in a 20-yard dumpster has been one of the most satisfying things I've been able to do here. Only second to that is cleaning the courtyard in preparation for service.
Okay. And so, our final question for you, well, not so much of a question, more of a statement, but could you please finish this sentence? Being a good neighbor means.
Walking alongside your neighbor in whatever season they may find themselves in, and not necessarily having a solution to a problem, but just taking time to listen to them, have fellowship with them, and it's vice versa also. Also sharing what I may be going through as a neighbor, because there are a lot of things in this world we can make more of. Unfortunately, time is not one of them. So it is something quite valuable. And if you share your time with someone, I believe it has a very intrinsic value in that it breathes life into them exponentially.
That was a beautiful point. Some people feel like they need to have all the right words or all the right actions, but sometimes just sitting alongside someone when they're going through something is more than enough.
Yes, absolutely.
Any final words for our listeners before we let you go?
Yes, actually, again, thank you, Jackie and Mr. Hunter and the village for embracing me when I came onto the campus. I know that it's kind of a lot to do here, but just how you guys shared the ins and outs of not only the village, but the campus, and kind of helping me, usher me along, I should say, on a fast track. Again, thank you for having me on the podcast. And walking around and through the village is one of the most wonderful things I get to do every single day. And lastly, for those that are listening that attend CrossWinds, please come out to the prayer path. Feel free to walk around the campus and contact Goodness Village because there's a lot of beautiful people here that need some assistance in a variety of ways. And again, time is one of the most valuable things in life. And I'm sure all of us can make good use of our time and share it with others.
Well, Milder, thank you for sharing your time. And thank you for the heart that you pour into our neighbors and for keeping our home beautiful. We literally could not do this without you.
Thank you very much.
And as always, listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to The Good Pod, share this conversation with your community, and stay tuned for more stories. And remember, being a good neighbor isn't about where you live, it's about how you show up. Until next time. Thank you for listening to the Goodness Village podcast. Production and recording was done by the Goodness Village operations team with support from CrossWinds Church. Music was provided by Blue Dot Sessions. If you want to know more about Goodness Village, visit us at gvlivermore.org. Thanks again for listening to The Good Pod.